Hey Mark, good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries.
This hand is from Andrew and Brad's meetup game
Ah,
from last month.
I love me
I
some
mean,
Andrew and Brad meetup. From where?
yeah,
From where?
from the Hustler
Launch?
Casino.
Oh, from the Hustler.
Yeah, it's when they're in LA. They're not part of the hand or anything, but just it's this was the second day, so it's not the 5-5, it's the 2-3 game. But
Ugh.
since the
2-3
Hustler
like
doesn't
300 cap or something?
The Hustler usually doesn't run a 2-3, but because of the meter game structure, the cap is 500. So the game is actually better. I think it's playable.
What's your name?
Daniel.
Daniel. I remember because when I went to Hustler to do commentary 2 weeks ago, when I was waiting for the 5-5, I was playing in their 2-5 300 cap game. I
Yeah,
was
that
like,
game is
oh
unplayable.
my god.
Yeah,
Well,
but I think this 2-3-5 max definitely plays more like a 5-5 game.
that's great. Yeah.
So there's the straddles on and one limp for the straddle. And then loose villain to my right. He opens the cutoff to 25.
So an EP limp and the cutoff to 25.
Yeah, and a little history with the villain. He's actually a good friend of mine. We play in a home game setting as well,
Okay.
and we're playing super loose. And the stacks are very deep and everything. And this game was playing kind of like a you just make your hand and value bet kind of thing. Not too much aggression.
Hmm.
So I actually decide to flat on the button with King of Spades, Jack of Hearts.
King Jack off. So one limp, right? And then you flat with King Jack off. Whereas you're saying that what you would normally want a three bet to drive the guy out. Is that right? Is that what you're
Yeah,
thinking?
but everybody else was playing really loose and making plenty of post-flop mistakes, so I figured in position I could play two Broadway cards pretty profitably.
By the way, are you a vlogger or something?
I'm not actually.
Why do people know who you are in the chat?
Oh, do they? I think I've
Yeah.
called in like twice, and I had a
Why
hand
do
to it.
why do people know your last name? Oh,
I'm not sure.
some
Is it
people are
showing up?
saying Daniel. No, it's not Daniel Kim. Is Daniel Kim
Oh, I think that might be my friend. I just told
in
him
the
I'm gonna
hand?
be no, no, no. A different friend. I told him I'm gonna be calling in today, so
Oh.
maybe they're just watching.
Oh, okay. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Don't worry about them.
So you call on the button, whereas you might three better fold normally. I mean, here's the thing, right? Like the more straddly the game is, the more you probably should be playing a three better fold strat from a button, even though you can sometimes have some flats. And then, of course, because there's a limper in there too, you'd want to drive them out. But I don't think it's terrible. You're 200 big blinds deep. I mean, just as a sort of an aside, like the deeper you get, like if it was straight cutoff versus button in a two blind game, you can have some flats. King Jack off might be one of them, right? So you start to like branch out with these other variables here too, you know?
Yeah, and I think rather than playing against my friend in the cutoff, I wanted to have all the loose players in the blinds
Right.
and the
And then,
straddle in.
right, there is a function of that too. And you will see sometimes good players will recognize that and call with ace king, call with ace queen, right?
Right, right.
To get those dominations. Okay, so you call with king jack off. Yep.
And kind of as expected, both blinds and the straddle and the limber call.
So, there's four people in the hand besides you, or three, say one, two, yeah, four ways, right? Five
No,
ways total.
six total because cutoff opens, I call
Yeah.
both blinds, straddle, and the original
All
limber
right. So
call.
three
So
blinds
150.
call, limper calls. So six ways total, right?
Yeah, super multi-way pot.
Okay. Well, no, I mean that's great. 150. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and it checks. Oh, sorry. Flop is Jack of clubs,
Uh huh.
seven of spades, and the five of hearts.
Jack of clubs, seven of spades, five of hearts. Okay.
And the pot is 150.
Uh huh.
We flop a pretty good pair, so I think, yeah. So the action actually checks all the way to me,
Okay.
and I decide to bet 105 here.
Yeah, this is really. I like this because these are just spots that you'll only get into in live poker. So some people that study only online poker, it's more short-handed types of things, they just, they've never really got into this spot. And you can't really plug into a solver because you'll never get an accurate output because you're never putting in accurate data as an input, right?
Right, we're never going six ways
Right,
multi-way.
right. Well, people don't know what the ranges are really. So,
Exactly.
so it's just all kind of, I wouldn't say feel, it's just kind of experience based. And what I would say is that, yeah, I mean, the more draw heavy, I mean, obviously this is a rainbow board. You've got king jack, you have top pair. You most likely with your buddy checking, right? He doesn't have ace jack or an overpair. So most likely you have the best jack here. Now, someone obviously could flop a set of sevens, 5, 7, 5, but I just sort of liberally bet here. And I'm not necessarily saying it's just an immediate bet fold if I got played back at, but it would sort of be one of these situations where I would take a look at it. But there's no reason not to bet here, I don't think,
Exactly. The board was kind of dry, but I still sized up purely for value because the
Mm-hmm.
blinds were just playing just anything.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to complete with any two cards, they're never going to fold a jack, right? Now, obviously, you
Exactly.
block, but I mean, there's just, we take a look at like how does a 40% VPIP sort of comprise their range? What does that comprise of pre-flop? And I would say that all the offsuit broadways are usually going to be in a 40% complete VPIP range. So this is really good for you that somebody might share that. Now, once in a while, you might start value owning yourself against like ace jack off, right? But
Yeah, and a lot of them would stack off with Queen Jack Jack 10 here.
okay, so you bet
That I mean that yeah
105.
that's how bad
Yeah,
or that's how good the game was.
yeah. So you bet 105.
So
Okay.
and then it folds around and actually only my buddy calls to my right.
So wow, folds back to the PFR
Yes.
in cutoff and calls. That's really interesting.
It was very interesting because I feel like with his aggressive image, he would be c-betting most hands he would want to continue on the flop with. So I was actually kind of caught off guard that he called.
Yeah, but could he ever have hands that he's only check calling when this happens? Because like if he had like ace queen of spades, right? Like something like that, king queen with the back door, he shouldn't be c betting five ways. But when you bet and everyone folds, maybe he can get away with calling. Although you did take sort of a larger sizing or just a pure ace king. I just think that it's much different if you bet and then someone else called and then he overcalled. I think his range might not be as tight as you think it is here.
Yeah, I think he definitely called closing the action
Right. With
because we
nobody
also
calling
have
in
some
between, right?
yeah, we have some history and
Right.
if someone else had called, I'm quite positive he would have folded.
Sure. That's what I mean. But and then if he overcalled you, man, like what is he? What that would have been very strange, right?
Yeah, so we go heads up to the turn,
Yep.
370 in the pot. It's
Hmm.
the king of clubs.
So 370 to the turn, and it's the king of clubs. So you make top two here, right?
And he checks.
Checks. Okay.
He checks, I bet 280.
So what did I just say that he could have here, right? What based upon this type of situation, or
A
what
wider
part?
defense than he
No, I
probably
just
should
think that
normally defending.
yeah, and I think that a king might actually be like a part of it. Like it's like if he's check calling with tens here, I just don't think you're going to get that much more out of him unless he gets really curious. So I mean, I like this sizing. At least I would not go small here. That's for sure. And me, and then you start to look at it, and you're like, and then he might start being like, "What is this guy? You doing this with like,
Yeah, it
nine,
definitely has to
eight,
do with
nine,
our
double gutted, something like that."
leveling war a little bit, and I wanted to set up a proper river jam.
So you bet 280, okay?
And he tanks for quite a long time and then flats after about a minute or two.
So people are saying you could overbet turn. The guy's already put in 425. I mean, you only have like six left. So, I mean, if he calls, you've got half to 2/3 left, anyways, right?
Yeah, the turn sizing was so that I could
Yeah,
jam 6 into 9.
to 6 into 9, right? 2/3. So,
Uh,
yeah. So I mean, just watch stack sizes. So he calls. He check calls.
yeah, he check calls the turn,
So now the pot's
930.
930.
Uh,
Okay, so cutoff calls. Yep.
and the river is the 10 of clubs. I just wanted to see any non-club, honestly, because I thought he could have some backdoor flushes. Um, so 10 of clubs comes, and he, without thinking for too long, lead jams for 600.
Well, I don't think. I mean, obviously, it's not as good a run out as you would have hoped. But when it comes Broadway, club on the backdoor side, that's not as bad as if it just came low club. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you understand what? Like, say it came like four of clubs, deuce of clubs. Why do I say that?
Um,
It's Jack of clubs,
because
seven of spades, five of hearts, and now it came King of clubs, 10 of clubs. We talk about what I had said.
yeah, because he would have more of those broadways paired
He'd
up.
have more of the backdoor Broadway flushes, right?
Right.
I mean, it just came two backdoor. So what? I mean, he's got a royal here,
So he can't have the king of clubs. He can't have the ten of
right?
clubs.
Right. So I mean, sure, he might have like seven X of clubs. He might have like a gutter somehow,
Honestly, a
like
main hand I did put him on was something like eight nine of clubs
eight,
or
nine.
eight six of clubs.
Right. I mean, those are yeah, but I mean, yes, but that's a very, very narrow value range. The point that I'm making is that when it comes Broadway, that's not that bad for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, could he have Ace Queen here? That was just going to check fold. I talked about that before too, right? It was just going to check fold. Now, if he has Ace Queen, say with a backdoor that he didn't get the backdoor, right? Like Ace Queen of spades, Ace Queen of hearts that didn't c-bet. And now you fire turn for 2/3 sizing. You know, is he calling? Your line kind of looks a little bit suspicious when you continue to barrel that king. When you start to think about like what would you do with just a jack here that didn't make kings up on the turn, like ace jack, queen jack, things like that. So maybe he gets a little bit suspicious and then he rivers here. But I mean, I've gotten these types of calls before, Daniel, where you're like playing with your buddy and you're trying to out level. There's no way in hell I'm ever folding here against that with that dynamic. There's just no way. It's not gonna
I think
happen.
just between our history, I'm kind of the tighter one, so he does give me a lot of credit when I do bet big. So when I bet large and he calls, I'm thinking that he thinks I have a minimum top pair or sevens or fives.
You mean what? Set of sevens or set of
Yeah,
fives?
yeah, that I called, flatted on the button, and then decided to just value town with.
I'm just telling you that I wouldn't fold to my. But I just want you to get on board with the backdoor club thing. What did you do? What ended up
Yeah, I
happening?
think I think that's a
Uh,
very good point that he would be paired up more.
uh.
Just based on the pure sizing, I mean 600 was a very big bet for this game. So I ended up tank folding actually,
Oh
just
no.
just based on, player exploit, I guess. I didn't think he would bluff me for this amount. Um, and he later did tell me that he had a 4-3 of clubs.
4-3 of clubs. That's quite an quite an inventive block. I mean, hand to say that he had when he didn't show you. I mean, I suppose it's possible. Says, which is a gutter. Why would he call? He's really going to call a gutter with 4-3 of clubs to your 2/3 on the
I mean,
flop?
based on our history, I can definitely see it. But I guess my main question would be, can we overfold versus like regs who would not bluff this river? Like, are they ever value betting any worse when this ten of clubs comes on the river?
I mean, I just don't know if it would play out like this with a reg. It's so kind of weird the way that the whole hand is set up because it's so multi-way. That a lot of like nitty regs would have the nut flush here, but it's really hard for them to have a nut flush here though. The way that this
Yeah,
has
just
gone
based on the
down.
run out.
I mean, maybe they check call with like ace five of clubs, ace seven of clubs, something like that. But there's no way I'm folding against your buddy, especially with this guy, 4-3 of clubs, right? Daniel, I appreciate the call.
Thanks, Bart.
Thank you very much, sir.